Hey, Mary Ann.
Hey, Lee.
Do you remember that picture we posted on our Facebook page?
It was pretty cool.
Yeah. Now we get to discuss some other fairly odd things that we found in the Oddfellows buildings.
Buckle up. It's time for KewaneeMemoryLane, where we cruise down the 4 lanes of Kewanee history with a detour of fun uncovering the past, coming to you straight from the Kewanee Historical Society in the heart of downtown Kewanee. Here are your hosts, Mary Ann and Leanne.
Welcome back, and thank you for joining us for our continued episode about the Oddfellows building.
Yeah, where we're going to discuss some really odd things. And people and places and...
So I just want to jump to these because this was just what we opened. I just, we're walking through the building and we're going to get to more of what was in there. But one of the funniest things I think we found was these pieces here, the teeth, and this tray. If you need some retainers.
That is giving me PTSD.
And I recently had to have orthotic, and these are not fun. And Ruben, who owns the building, we were like, hey, can we... He thought we were so weird. Because
we are so weird.
Take these off your hands.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Yeah, somebody's missing their teeth.
And here's some of this goop that got hardened. And then there's some other nice choppers here.
And this one is missing their...
So are these.
Yeah, that's kind of
I don't know what happened, but we just thought they were kind of interesting props. So there were a handful of dentists up above the Cronau building at 205 North Tremont, which eventually became part of Oddfellow. They swallowed up. Well,
yes.
We'll get into that. But it's upstairs from where the Splat Ink is now.
Right,
so
right.
that's where we found those. And just couldn't pass them up. So we were like, thanks, Ruben. Thought it was pretty cool.
Yes.
So.
Well, we did get some strange looks from Ruben when we said, can we take this? Okay. Here, take the whole drawer is what he said.
Yeah. We talked a lot about the development of the Oddfellow building and just how that came about. And then if you stand in front of the building, as you and I have done, you can see it's wider now and there's a differentiation in the bricks.
Right. And we'll post a picture of...
And we were really trying to figure this out.
Yeah,
and I think we finally figured it out. Kewanee National Bank, what about 1893?
Yeah.
We're trying to build a building next to Oddfellows.
Right. Oddfellows was a standalone building at the time.
It was. And so the bank, they had their quarters elsewhere. I think it was on West 2nd.
Well, they were in a Taylor's.
Hallin Taylor, Hallin.
Yeah. I don't
just
know.
for a little bit of time until, because I think and then 1900 they finally got into that building, that brick structure, that made that a wider building because their walls are touching each other.
Yes, it was
attached,
but not.
I mean, it was true.
And then the Oddfellows built an addition along the back that is along the back of both buildings, so it just looks like the what would be the bank building for Kewanee Savings Bank was swallowed by the Oddfellows building. So
here's that Oddfellows here,
right?
And then once the other was added,
right.
You can see it's wider, and we'll post these. It's easier to see once John gets them up for us. But her and I have done so much head scratching. Went to Cambridge, as you know.
That we mentioned in the last episode.
Talk to people. Right? We need other tours of this building. There's so many twists and turns, and so it makes sense it was just added on. So it's easy to get a little confused.
Yeah. And really, there's only one access door still between the Oddfellows building and what I'm calling the Vlahos building, which is the second building built. And that is only because Ruben opened up a door. I mean, it was not made for that at all. When you look at the front of the building, you go in like the little vestibule, but there's two different doors.
Yeah.
So one goes into one building and one goes into the other building.
It's weird.
Yeah.
It's weird.
But it's very interesting. I mean, that's one of the most interesting buildings.
Our light was just flashing.
Yes.
So.
Am I stroking? Am I having a stroke?
No.
But we're moving on.
Anyway, 1900 is when the bank opened there, Kewanee National Bank. And they were there, for quite a few years. In 1912, they ceased to do business as a national bank and wanted to work with the state and be state regulated and not
nationally.
National.
Yeah.
So in 1916, the Kewanee National Bank officially was already Kewanee State Savings Bank and Trust.
Okay.
Which we can see on some of these pictures that we'll put up. But I need to hold this so I can read it. They took possession of the Oddfellows corner that was occupied by Anthony Drugstore prior to that. So what Leanne and I were talking about last episode was Oddfellows was really that corner. And so the bank just, put their building next to it. And the bank wanted to expand.
Right.
In 1916, and they did buy the Cronau building, which is at 205, which is where
they were thinking to expand north.
They wanted to go north, and then they thought, oh, we're going to go south. So they wanted to lower the floor of the main level of the Oddfellows building. I can't make sense of it.
Yeah, I don't know
how they did it.
I don't know which floor they lowered.
It said the present room, so the room they were taking over, because they were wanting to adjust it to be with the bank.
Okay.
And so the bank is the middle building. If you're looking, you got the corner building, Oddfellows, you got the bank building, and then you got the Cronau building. And so the bank, they had their bank built, was it Craig and Davis, we said?
Yes.
They were two contractors, and they were getting to be known as beautiful architectural artists or whatever.
Yes, they did 2 banks in town.
And they had some other buildings. And so I think they wanted to lower the floor of the Oddfellows to match up with theirs.
And then they took over the entire first floor of both buildings. So in that way, they were connected. And when I first got here, when I first came to Kewanee, I think Martha Brown's was still there. And that was both sides. But I always wondered, when they left, it was talked about how do you rent that space because you have 2 landlords.
Yeah.
Because one building was owned by the Oddfellows and one building was owned by Ted Vlahos. And so you had to negotiate 2 different landlords to have this store. And I just thought that was weird. But now, getting into it, I understand because I didn't realize there was 2 buildings.
Excuse me, the bank had some bankruptcy issues in the late 20s. And in the early 30s, a lot of people thought they were going to close. So they started moving their money out of the bank. And so the bank board of directors decided they needed to close to try to reserve whatever assets they had left. Excuse me. So they closed in 1933, and it became vacant in 1935. And then the Vogue, which I forgot
was
the
also
Vogue was
during
over
the
there.
Depression.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. I got to think about the Depression, don't I?
Yeah. That's why. True. That's what the run on the bank was about. I'm sure.
Yeah. So 1939 to 1952 was the Vogue. Before it was here, and I forgot the Vogue had been over there.
The Vogue was a women's clothing store.
And then the Vogue came over here for whatever reason. So then in 1954, here comes the Kewanee National Bank back again.
Yeah.
So Kewanee National Bank, Kewanee State Savings Bank and Trust, Kewanee National Bank. It took me a while to figure it all out. This would have been in the mid-50s, I believe, a pretty cool picture of the bank front with a nice car.
Yeah, and you can see that you can see this is the building that goes upstairs. It's that doorway is still there. And then this whole thing is the bank. But if you look at these bricks, you can see the 2 different buildings, which I still don't understand. But
Well, Leanne and I were talking, I forget what year, 1960 what, they added their drive-through and a window for deposits. So there is a window on the side here.
But it's
not there
It's called a drive-up window, but
You actually had to park and get out.
Yeah, you had to
couldn't drive up, and because you pull up and your passenger's going to have to do the banking, or
Right.
if
Well,
you have
there
a
was a whole
passenger-
sidewalk and a little bit
Yeah,
to get
Were you
up
going to
to.
drive over to get to
Yeah,
the bank?
right.
Oh,
Yeah.
that wasn't a good joke. So, yeah, and then in 1972, Kewanee National Bank, for whatever reason, decided to move, and they're out by Brackens and Midland Plaza out in Weathersfield.
And became
And-
the Kewanee Bank.
Yep. And then I think that's when,
State Bank of Toulon.
I'm going back to the corner over
Oh,
here.
sorry.
But that's when Martha Brown came about,
Okay.
which we had a discussion about that.
Yeah.
Brown Lynch Scott was a chain store.
Right. And it was across the street where the Lyman and Lay had sold.
Union
Well,
Federal parking lot now.
during the fire, it was sold. The Lyman family sold it, or the Lay family, one of them, sold it to developers, and it became Brown Lynch Scott.
Which was a chain store.
Right.
And I was reading a little bit about it. I cannot remember the story at this point, but Martha Brown is somebody in the family.
Yeah, I
and
think
so
it was a
this
mother
was like
or
a
something.
little sister store that
Yeah.
was around until the early 90s. And that's what was there, and then it was different things.
Yeah.
I
since then.
I remember the most recent thing in the late 90s was Yankee Doodle Dandy.
Yes.
Which was a cute little store.
It was like Americana stuff, and had good candles.
They had a
I remember
counter
that.
when you first walked in, and just like neatsy little decorative stuff.
Yeah.
So that was kind of cute.
Yeah.
So I finally figured out Kewanee National Bank, what that was all about. So that's
Right.
why when you look at the front of the building, the bricks are different. Two different buildings kind of put together. So I want to talk about a few things I found out about West 2nd Street, 204 and 206.
Okay, so those are the
West
second.
2nd.
Yes, the Second Street of the Oddfellows building. There's two storefronts on Second Street in that building.
One was this guy used to be at 206 West 2nd. His name was J. Hobart Dean. He was a clairvoyant. I did not know. And this was in 1906. He could tell your future.
Did he wear a turban? I wonder.
I don't know. But it had this
Crystal
nice
ball.
little story here, and we can put this up. But he had moved, and that's what part of this advertisement was about. And I don't want to sit here and read everything to you, but
He moved, like he was in town somewhere, and he moved to this place.
he moved from 206 West 2nd to 106 East 2nd. So he crossed Main Street and went the other way.
Okay.
But he would tell your fortune and didn't demand payment unless you were like, yeah, man, that sounded good. And then you paid him. I don't know how much. That's
don't know how
according
that-
to how this reads.
I wonder how.
What if you
okay.
didn't like it? You're like, no, bro, I don't like this.
Yeah.
I'm not paying you.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know what would have
That's
happened.
my cousin. I'm not gonna marry him.
Oh!
Well, everyone in Kewanee is related. Everybody is in everybody's tree.
This is true. We do genealogy. Yeah.
Yes. And I'll tell you that me, John Looney, and Marianne Culver are all in the same tree. We're very distant, and by marriage, but
I feel sorry for you people because
you should.
I
know.
mean, I'm the Polish princess, just so you know.
Well, yeah, I'm Chinese American.
Okay.
And
Yeah,
there
so-
you go. We're a melting pot.
And John, I don't
Right
know
here.
what he is, so I mean,
He's a loony.
I meant ethnically.
Well, he's German. I can tell you that because his mother was a Hefner.
Oh yeah, I'm part German too.
I am not German.
I think we need to go to Rock Island sometime. I'm going on a little tangent here to find out about the other John Looney.
That's yeah.
That's going to be coming.
Yeah,
up.
that may just be a road trip.
Okay. So anyway, I found out there was a store there in 1929 in that same area, 204, 206, called Vaughn and Ragsdale.
Okay.
In 1929.
Dress up for July 4th. Boy.
I don't
that
know if
looks
I
like
would have
a-
dressed
yeah,
up like
I-
this for
yeah.
July 4th. But you could get a nice spiffy dress for $9.87.
Okay. What year was that ish?
1929.
Oh, well, that's kind of
The
expensive.
bandbox opened in 1942.
I remember
and I
hearing
think
about
they
the
were there
bandbox.
for quite a few years.
Yeah.
1899. I got my sheets a little bit out of order. Griggs. I want to know if the Griggs Music Company, if this was the founder of the Griggs Music.
We're going to have to
We
discuss
need to find
that.
out.
Yeah.
This was P.M. Griggs.
Yeah.
So that was on West 2nd Street on the back side of the building.
And
So-
he had sewing machines and musical instruments. guess it's all metal, I guess.
I don't know.
I don't know why
like
those
I said
things
to
go
you
together.
the other day, it's like furniture makers that also made coffins.
It's all wood,
So,
you know,
yeah,
I guess so.
There was also a store in 1936 called Hurd and Nelson.
Tropical suits. Oh, I guess that's supposed to be you're on a ship, like a cruise.
You're on a cruise looking spiffy in your suit. If I'm on a cruise,
I'm wearing
shorts.
and a Hawaiian shirt.
Well, I'm not a guy, but John would probably not be wearing a suit on a ship.
I don't
know. You could also go to the Grandfield School of Dancing.
Ooh, under the direction of Miss Evelyn Grandfield.
In 1936. So that was...
I bet you that was the thing to do, though.
That would have been upstairs, I think. Mm-hmm. Yeah. What kind of dancing would they have done in 36? Ballroom, perhaps?
Mm-hmm. Jive.
Oh.
I bet you it wasn't... I don't think there was jive classes. I think you just did it. I don't know.
Well, in the 30s, yeah. So... also in the lower level, which would have been 204.5, the basement level, where they had
Alcoholics Anonymous.
Thank you.
Meeting.
Before that, we had Janet's Beauty Box.
Ooh.
And there was a group of women.
Gosh, there's a lot of
there
women.
Was 6 women ready to help you with your beauty needs. Permanent.
Wow, that's interesting.
Makeup, haircuts.
That area doesn't look
We've
like
been in there. It's pretty small. I don't know how they fit 6 women in there.
Maybe it was all part-time.
Stations. But I didn't have the other part of the ad copied, but they did have like the little booth. It was hard to see because it's newsprint and digital. Mm-hmm, it's hard to see.
Yeah, right.
But they had little booths, and it was like, eh.
Okay.
We did a grocery store episode recently.
Yeah.
And that was pretty cool. But Fidelity, I think, is one that I did not talk about.
Okay.
And I forget the year. You found this ad for me, the Fidelity grocery store.
I don't know. We have a picture of somewhere. Well, don't worry about it. I know because I saw it said Fidelity on it. There was a picture of everybody of it in front of the.
Where did that?
Oh, don't worry about it. We'll put it up when we find it.
Yeah, it's here. It's here. I promise. The Crystal Shop was at 208 West
I've heard of the
2nd,
Crystal Shop.
Yeah.
What do they do?
Well, there was a sad little story. Oh, sorry. Here.
Oh.
So.
Oh, they sold real china.
They had real china
and coats and dresses and pottery dinner.
I don't know what a pottery dinner is for $17.95.
Maybe it's a set. I don't know.
Oh, like a dinner set, like plates.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah.
Well, back in 1959, a deer got into the Crystal Shop store.
Is that sort of like a bull in a china shop?
It was. It literally was. I told John I found the story.
Was there antlers?
I don't know, but it says the downtown spree in association with civilization was too much for the lone deer that visited Kewanee early Wednesday morning.
Oh, no.
After being captured, treated for injuries sustained, and then released in the park, Johnson Sauk Trail Park, the young deer died Friday.
Oh.
So I don't want to read it didn't break a single dish. It didn't bother anybody in the store, but they had to I think it just maybe died from fright or something because it was not injured. Nothing was wrong. They thought we're going to relocate it, and I think the deer was just so scared, And I just thought...
Where was its mama?
I know, and just open the door and say, here you go, buddy. So...
That's so sad.
I was like, really?
Okay.
So after they released it, it died. It couldn't get on its legs, and it just...
How did it get... Oh, my gosh. There's many questions to that.
So... And another beauty store was Sandy's Beauty Spot.
Okay.
In the basement again at 204 and a half.
Okay.
Under new management.
Okay.
We also had the Duchess Beauty Salon.
Okay.
So
what year was that?
1969.
Yeah, that looks like.
So already we're seeing 3 beauty stores in the basement of this beauty salons.
Yes, it was a thing.
Yeah, I don't remember seeing sinks or water. Or when we went,
it was
different.
Yeah,
so.
it was just a little kitchenette is all.
Upstairs, you had Durex accounting service. June Melody. That was a record store that was at 206 West 2nd. I enjoyed going there and getting 45 records of all my favorite music. I think we've talked about this before.
Yeah.
They had a fire in 1977.
Oh no.
And It gutted the record store. The record store did reopen, but it did affect the other businesses on the block, of course. So that was another thing that I found. Have you heard of Johnson's Hub?
Well, sure. That used to be right here on our side of the street, next door to us, where
Harry Russell now.
Harry
cuts
Russell
hair.
has tailored cuts. Yeah.
Yeah. So the Hub, as you know, they had men's clothing.
Yeah. The Johnson family.
Yeah, like, leather coats and suits and casual clothes and whatever.
Right,
so
right.
I guess back in 1979, they also opened up a store called, or was it in 79? Well, they opened the pantry, but I know in 79 there was a big article about their family. And they've been in business over 100 years now. But at some point, let me borrow yours.
Okay.
And they had a store called the Pantry because they got so inundated with all these dungarees, as my dad would call them, or blue jeans, that they opened up the store.
It was in the 70s, like when bell bottoms.
In 1975 at 208 West 2nd, it was called the Pantry.
When everybody started wearing them. The Pantry, and it was Pantree. Right? Pantry.
No, it was PANT-TREE. Pantry.
Okay.
Like, yeah.
But not like pantry where you find your flour.
No, or your staples or your your cereal. No,
Yeah.
no,
Okay.
not that kind
It
of
was
pantry.
it was like
pant tree.
It was like a tree that you hang your pants on.
There you go.
Okay.
There you go. And I mean, that was around for a little bit, and they closed it, and then the Hub, like, it was all combined at the Hub, and then eventually Hub moved to Main Street.
Right.
But
right.
It's just a nice article about all the Johnson boys work there through college. I think they had 4 sons, so that was pretty neat. And I don't know if you heard of the Plum Barrel.
I've heard of it. I don't know what it did. Do you know what it reminds me of?
What?
That nursery rhyme about that kid stuck his thumb in a pie and stuck in his thumb and pulled out a plum and said, "What a good boy am I?"
Oh!
Whenever I read that,
Gotcha.
that's what I think
Gotcha.
of. And that is a very 70s font.
Yeah. Being in the printer. Yeah.
I know.
So in 1979, they opened, they had a store, and I think it was gift items or...
Okay.
Yeah, gift items. So,
Okay.
unique gift items, yeah.
Counter after counter of unique things. Interesting.
So that was West 2nd Street, what I was most familiar with. And then I did not know, and you found this, that Davidson's Restaurant was
Right.
first at 205 North Tremont.
Right. So that would be in the lower left or
Well,
lower
Where the
south.
tattoo place is now.
Yeah, but the south.
Yeah, because it was very narrow.
It was very narrow.
Because they had 2 different doors. It was like one half had 205, one half was 205, but like a wall down the...
Right.
Really
right.
weird.
Yeah, it was like bowling alley, you know.
But I remember when Leanne was talking about the fire of 42 and how Davidson's restaurant, that was kind of a resting place for firefighters.
Red Cross went there and helped
they were
out.
helping people, and it's just really neat. We found this in our museum here, and I reprinted it. John will post it, and I just thought it was really cool. They had waffles and steaks and Coca-Cola and ice cream cones and just...
And we have pictures of it. They had a very nice neon sign outside that little bitty place.
Yeah, they did.
Yeah.
And
then, of course, they did move, and they moved over to 2nd and Mainish. Well,
yeah, like
100 block is East
100
2nd.
block East 2nd, next door to where Ronnie's American Mexican food is now. Yeah, we go there.
That's where.
Yeah,
that's how we
go
know
there.
it.
So, and I'll let you.
Oh, okay. Also in 205 North Tremont was Dave Vlahos's service shop, but he did shoes and he was a hatter and stuff. But we have this, look at your shoes. We give best quality service on all repair work. And so I was talking to his granddaughter Pam Mott, and she was giving me some information because her dad had owned the Vlahos building and the Cronau building earlier, and so I was asking her some things about it. And I'm like, oh, I didn't know it was your grandpa that ran the Dave's shoe repair.
And I can't remember what year he sold it to John Easley. I was just scanning this article
yeah.
you found that Dave Clark wrote.
Yeah.
And it doesn't have a date of when John took it over, but John was born in Brownsville, Tennessee in 1913. A lot of African American families that I know have ancestors that were from Brownsville, Tennessee. I just find
they
that
migrated.
They really migrated to Kewanee for, I don't know if it's jobs, industries, safety, whatever. But John Easley, really good guy, had a family here, ran the shoe shop, and also, didn't you tell me he ran for city council?
That's what this is about. First black man to run for city council.
Yeah, unfortunately, he was not elected. But these are just, some interesting items.
Yeah. But there's a nice picture, I thought, of Dave Vlahos and John Easley. Yeah, there.
Handing it over. So, because I think John worked for Dave for...
Since he was 9, it said. Since he was
forever.
shining shoes there at 9. There's that Fidelity picture.
Yeah, I just misplaced that. Yep. So, another thing was when you look at this old picture of the building, I don't have all my props in order. Anyway, when the building was first built, the Oddfellows, in 1878, there was a Hinsdale, and they sold huge pieces of glass, like window glass.
That was this picture.
Thank you.
That we used from the last episode. It says M.H. Hinsdale for here. Yeah.
So somehow he cut glass and provided people with windows. I thought that was pretty interesting in 1878.
I wonder how,
I don't know how he would have transported it, because back then you would have had horse and buggy.
It's a lot of straw.
I wouldn't want the responsibility of transporting
I
that.
know, right?
What if you got halfway home and it broke?
Well, I don't know.
I guess I don't know.
Well, I do want to say here that I did break the streak last episode, and I did do our first cursing on camera.
That's okay.
We thought it would be Marianne, but it was me.
Oh!
We'll try not to curse anymore, but I'm not guaranteeing anything.
Back in 1897, next to the Kewanee National Bank, there was a place called the Ideal Restaurant.
Ideal. 1897. Okay.
And this says that Robert Steer makes his own ice cream. It is the finest in the city. Chocolate, vanilla, lemon, and strawberry flavors always on hand. All kinds of temperance drinks. What's a temperance drink?
Oh, a temperance drink. That would be a soft drink.
Does that go with Prohibition?
It kind of. Well, 1897, that is right when that whole thing started out, I think, out west.
Because Prohibition, remind me, when did Prohibition start?
Well, it started nationally in 1920, but there was...
1914.
1914, but there was a whole national thing.
So, to me, he's kind of flirting here, all kinds of temperance drinks.
I think that's just what it was called.
Ah. Anyway, for day or week board, it says, try the Ideal Restaurant next door to the Kewanee National Bank. So,
I guess when, like they say room and board, and it's the food for room and board, for day or week board, for eating.
Oh, I didn't quite understand that.
I don't know that. I'm just
okay.
Making things up as we go
Here's
along.
an ad for the Davidson's restaurant that I thought was cute.
That is
A
cute.
man and woman on stool there.
Buy U.S. defense bonds and stamps.
So dated that to 42. But quality is more than just a word at Davidson's restaurant. You'll find it
about everything here. The next time you eat out, stop in at Davidson's restaurant, the place where good food and low prices go hand in hand. It's a perfect place to bring the entire family. I don't know where you'd fit the entire family.
I know, the place was so small. It was so cool. I'm sure the food was excellent.
Oh, I bet, yeah.
Also, a McNabb drugstore was at 203 North Tremont after the Kewanee Bank. Well,
okay.
46. Yeah. So,
okay.
Yeah. And then, have you ever heard of Lil L's Hot Dog Heaven?
No, I can't say that I have.
Lil L's Hot Dog Heaven. That's a mouthful. So, in 1974, it was a restaurant. Short of time, fast carry-out service.
Fresh corn on the cob, Mother Swan's homemade soup.
And I went into the Star Courier archives to figure out who Mother Swan was.
Did you?
I've not found her yet. I thought maybe we could find her soup
I
recipe.
bet you it's Elle's mother.
Oh.
Or maybe that's
Is
Elle's kid.
Is it Elle, like Elroy, or Elle for Eloise? Like man or woman? Who is little Elle?
Elmer?
I don't know. But back in 1974, you could get an old-fashioned barbecue for 50 cents.
They had a taco burger, something new.
For 50 cents.
For 50 cents.
Steamed Polish with kraut. Now you're talking my language.
With onions on rye bun. Oh my gosh, that sounds so
50
good.
cents. And Coney Island hot dog, 3 for $1. So, I think and this was in 74, like we've said before, Tremont and 2nd Street was pretty bustling.
Mm-hmm,
and so I think it just was a way to maybe get the working people a quick bite to eat and they could go back to work. But anyway, after Little L's Hot Dog Heaven moved out, Shamrock Cafe, not Shamrock Bar, but Shamrock Cafe, they had breakfast, a plate lunch, and carry out good food always. So, and then lastly, I'll just mention Martha Brown closed after 67 years in Kewanee, and I think they're putting that with the Brown Lynch Scott and Martha Brown because that would have been too long of a time. I don't think that would have been possible. Would that have been possible? No. So they closed the store in 1993. So I think that would have been with the Brown Lynch Scott and Martha Brown, just the family as a whole. So anyway,
well, that was a fun time. We had a fun time looking that up, and I want to say thank you to Marianne because she went through, and these are everybody that lived.
Well, not every year, but a lot of years. Just we didn't know there was a cigar factory upstairs on West 2nd Street.
Yes, the Finnans had a cigar factory.
Yeah.
And there's still Finnans in town.
And just researching this, it gave me ideas for other topics for coming up. Just places I had never heard of before.
Yeah.
But again, we want to thank Pam Mott and Ruben Gutierrez
for helping us out on our foray into these buildings. It still just fascinates me
and I'm wearing
how they all work together.
Yeah, and I'm wearing our museum shirt to remind you that when you're viewing this, it's going to be close to our opening season, May through October.
Yeah.
Thursdays and Saturdays, 1 to 4. Kewanee-history.com is our website, or Kewanee Nostalgia is our Facebook page for the museum specifically. And then,
or you can find us at KewaneeMemoryLane on Facebook, or email John, Marianne, and I at KewaneeMemoryLane at gmail.com. And then you're watching us probably on YouTube at KewaneeMemoryLane. So we want to thank you guys for tuning in with us again, and we look forward to seeing you next time.
And feel free to, we will show these to you if you come in and see us.
And go home and brush your teeth.
Yeah, go home, brush your teeth, wash your hands. Thank you. All right. Bye, guys.
Thanks for cruising with us today. We hope you enjoyed the show, and you'll join us for our next cruise down Kewanee Memory Lane.